I have zero excuses now not to finish school. Like, it was a godsend. It was, knowing that I could go to school and that Starbucks would cover it and not have to worry about the debt hanging over my head was awesome. Like, it was a no-brainer. And for my kids, they get to see me going to school and realize that if mommy could do it, I can do it, and I'm just a living example for them to be successful.
My education signifies my journey. It's something that no one will ever take away from me. I did it every day, and I lived that life every single day, and that degree says to me, you can accomplish anything. A degree is opportunity.
Thank you. First, I want to thank Zoe Baird, the CEO and president of the Markle Foundation, for that rousing introduction. Thank you. And I'm Rebecca Jarvis, ABC News' chief business and economics correspondent, and I'm joined here by two men you now know very well from that video, Howard Schultz and Michael Crow.
Thank you.
And we were talking before we came into this room about this program, this groundbreaking program, and talking about the fact that there's plenty of numbers and there's plenty of great things happening, but nothing tells about its success like the stories, the people.
You got to start.
Here's the story. So Howard and I were in Seattle a few weeks ago together. We were at this fantastic store. If you've never been to this thing, it's like a Starbucks the size of this room, where they're also manufacturing coffee. And a random employee happened to be one of the Starbucks ASU students, and he was a young man, 29 years old, who had gone to a private college for a year, incurred a significant amount of debt, had dropped out of college, and had been working for Starbucks for 9 years to pay this debt off. The debt was not yet paid off, and he spoke with a kind of articulation that was revealing of his inner secret desire, which was to be a philosopher. And it turns out that he was and is now an ASU student, an undergraduate major in philosophy. And this young man was taking philosophy courses, taking science courses. He was inspired. He was living his dream. He was involved with students in visual interaction in the class, exchanging papers, doing science classes in the field, using data that was being brought in by the university from the federal government, doing things that you could tell that this person's inner spirit, this young man's dream, was to have an opportunity to read and think about philosophy, which is the study of ideas. This is why he existed. Starbucks was his means to stay alive, and his dream was now renewed after a significant life trauma, after this non-completion of the college that he went to. And so for us, just randomly, he was a fantastic example of what this program is all about and how it's working. And at the end of the day, I think a really important thing to say about him is that he spoke more about the importance of our advising functions and our student support functions and our engagement functions and our team building functions than he did about the courses themselves. It was all of this wrapped into a single package.
One of the things I also mentioned to them, this story, we started covering it yesterday on abcnews.com because it is such big news. And on ABC News, it's now one of the most shared stories of all the stories on the internet. And I think one of the reasons behind that is Starbucks is ubiquitous. So many people think of Starbucks as something they see every single day. And now this is something that people will look at a Starbucks and think of as an opportunity, a place where they can go work and also get that college education.
Well, I think we felt very strongly that the role and responsibility of a for-profit public company is changing. And if you look at the history of Starbucks, we've done a number of things over the years. Comprehensive health insurance before the Affordable Care Act, equity in the form of stock options. And we really went to our employee base and we asked them a year and a half ago if we could create a new significant incremental benefit, what would it be? And over 70% said access to a college degree. And so we began researching how could we do this. Never before in the history of American business has a corporation created anything quite like this. We didn't know where to start. We're not in the education business. And we were very fortunate to meet ASU and Michael. And I say that because it took a lot of entrepreneurial courage for a state university to approach this and understand the opportunity. And when I say the rules of engagement have changed for a for-profit public company, we have to all realize, and I said it in the video, we no longer can wait for Washington to solve our problems. We have to recognize that we're going to have to do much more for our people and much more for the communities we serve. And I think if we look at our own company as a litmus test, we've succeeded well beyond our wildest dreams over many years. And one of the primary reasons is the reservoir of trust around the equity of the Starbucks brand speaks to the fact that the customer has lots of choices in every business, in every environment. Even ABC has a competitor. I say that because I'm convinced that as we move forward, the consumer today is going to make choices not only based on what things cost and features and benefits of product, but they're going to make choices every single day about companies and corporations whose values are like-minded to their own. And so we now have an opportunity to literally offer a free college education not only to juniors and seniors, but also to freshmen and sophomores. And as a result of that, we're going to attract great people into the company. We're going to retain them. I view this as a significant investment, not as an expense. And I think of all the things we've done over many, many years, I've never seen anything like this that has galvanized our entire company and created such pride in the organization.
I've had the chance to talk to some of your employees, and I hear the same thing coming from them. And you mentioned investment. It's a $250 million investment. That's the estimate right now. You mentioned the consumer. That millennial consumer is as conscious about the product as they are about the company behind the product that they're buying these days. I wonder for others who will think of this as a blueprint.
Yeah.
The most difficult thing, the biggest challenge you had to get over in forging this relationship, and the smartest thing you did in building this?
Well, the smartest thing I did was picking ASU and Michael Crow. I can tell you that right out of the gate. And I say that because we spoke to a number of public and private universities, and it was clear to us that their online education was more of a bolt-on than really a comprehensive integrated system. We've learned a lot. I think the big news in terms of executing this is the investment and how ASU has customized this for Starbucks personnel. You should probably talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, let me comment first. You know, I think the smartest thing for us in terms of finding Starbucks and working together with Starbucks was to find Howard as a leader who's a transformative individual, leading a corporation as a designer of change, as an architect for change. Yes, the corporation needs to be successful. Yes, Starbucks needs to return value to shareholders and profit to shareholders and compensation to staff and so forth. But far more than that, in our search, the key to success is finding the fellow travelers like many of you that are in this room that are not satisfied with the way things are, or the way things are headed, and finding architects or designers that can work and design things in new trajectories in new ways. So that's the biggest thing. To the second part of your question, the most challenging thing for us was the realization that, and many of you in the room know this, it's far more than the courses. So what we built was a digital immersive bridge from the creativity of a research-grade faculty to students dispersed across the entire country, but that is insufficient. That's literally not even insufficient. It won't do the job. And so for us, the lesson that we've learned, the hardest thing that we've learned is how to reach in with Starbucks into folks, young people usually, who have not finished college, who were discouraged by that process, and help them as you would as a teacher or as a counselor or as an advisor, nurturing them and bringing them forward and helping them. And this whole notion of the human touch and the human engagement, it doesn't disappear through a technological format. It must be present or it won't be successful. So that's been the hardest thing for us to sort of work on.
Can I add one more thing? You know, I sat in a number of rooms with prospective students, and in some cases, parents. Unfortunately, if you've gone to college and you have failed, and you're saddled with a fair amount of debt, it's very, very hard to go back, especially if years go by, 3, 4, 5 years, your life changes. So convincing people to go back to school is a very difficult proposition unto itself. Not only did we have to create a bridge, but we had to create a seamless opportunity for them to understand that between Starbucks and ASU, we were going to ensure the fact that you are going to be successful. And I think the self-esteem and the sense of belonging and what's happened to these students in the second semester as a result of doing well the first, you can just see a light go off, a halo of just a tremendous level of gratification. The other thing I would say is that, and it surprised me, it's very hard for people to share with you that they have incurred debt and they have failed. And people have a fair amount of shame about it. And when you're in a room with strangers and you're talking about your own life experience, and then all of a sudden a benefit like this emerges, it's not that easy to build trust that this is really the real thing. That in fact we are going to pay for this. If in fact you graduate, which we are going to make sure you do, and you decide you're going to leave Starbucks, we don't want you to leave, but that's okay.
No strings attached.
No strings attached. You don't owe us any money because this is about you. It's about improving the country. And I think we have to recognize, all of us, and I know you all know this, is that the country is suffering and there's so many things that are not going right, and we have to do everything we can as citizens and as business leaders to try and make a positive difference with the people that we come in contact with.
And yes. And unlike the past, we're not in the business of building hundreds of new colleges and universities as we were in the 19th century and the early 20th century. We've got to take the institutions that we have, the companies, the universities, the colleges and others, and we've got to alter their design to help advance human capital for the betterment of everybody. And so to do that requires us as a university to rethink what we're doing. Are we in the particular type of an emerging new class of public university, a new type of public research university, one that has tens of thousands of full immersion students that we're enhancing their education through digital enhancement? Can we also project all that we're doing to these students at Starbucks, using that as an example, in a way where there's no diminishment, not one iota of diminishment in their educational opportunity or their educational learning process? And so we have hundreds of degrees, and we picked 70 that we thought that we could do this at that level. And we offer those degrees, like the young person I was talking about, as a philosophy major. I can tell you track him down, interview him, find these other people, listen to what they're learning, how they're advancing. And so for a student who's already in the workforce, for a lifelong learner who will always be in the workforce, hopefully, we are figuring out how to take a great public research university and project what it does in a way where that young man can finish that dream of his to become a philosophy major and a thinker.
If we keep going, you won't have to ask any questions. What I would add is,
Did you hear the rumor, though, about ABC being sold?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
DIS. Just kidding.
What I was going to say is that, when you're in business every single day, you have to recognize that you have to constantly push for innovation and self-renewal and reinvention. And clearly, as a result of technology, for anyone who embraces the status quo, you just are not going to succeed. But going back to your original question about what we've learned, I think one of the major lessons here is that innovation and breakthrough thinking is not just customer-facing. This level of innovation that we're talking about and this proposition, what we're doing, is innovation that is linked to our people. And Starbucks is in the people business. The equity of the Starbucks brand is created by the people who serve our customers. So anything that we can do on a daily basis that makes our people proud, that builds a large reservoir of trust around the intentions of management, speaks to a level of success that we want to continue to enjoy. And so that is why I think we know just unequivocally that this is going to be a successful program.
For you, this is also personal because you were the first in your family to go to college, which a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. Well,
why do you think it is, sorry to cut you off, but why do you think it is that more CEOs aren't doing what you're doing?
That's a long, we have to be here a longer time than the 20 minutes that are sitting on the lectern here. Let me say it this way. It is personal for me. Michael and I have something in common. We didn't know that when we met, and that is we literally both came from the other side of the tracks. I grew up in public housing. I knew very well what it meant to be a poor kid. I carry that with me, and I think my sensibility about people who are being left behind, my sensibility about the playing field not being level is something that I want to attack, that I don't think is fair and equitable. And as far as other CEOs, I think there is so much pressure that is more so than any other time I can remember, and we've been public for 23 years, on less than a quarter-to-quarter basis on CEOs, on management, to perform. And I think the level of activist shareholders has also added a burden of responsibility and pressure on CEOs. So I think what I feel strongly about is that we have to demonstrate success, in my view, not only because of my personal responsibility to Starbucks and ASU, but I think we have a responsibility to demonstrate to other businesses and business leaders that this program is well worth your time, your energy, and an opportunity that you should embrace.
I definitely want to come to you on the same question, but quickly, the activist shareholders.
Yes.
Before making these announcements, do you have to go out and sort of sell the case to Wall Street?
I'm kind of an anomaly in that sense.
Howard, just say yes. Just say yes.
Let me say it this way, because someone is going to pick this up, and I'm going to get myself in trouble.
That was the idea, actually.
That's why you should just say yes.
Yeah. So in order to do anything like this, we have to recognize as a company that we have a fiduciary responsibility to build shareholder value. And I would say that performance is the price of admission. If we were not performing and we did not create the kind of value that we have created, we have outperformed our peer group consistently every single year that we have been public, basically. And as a result of that, I think we have license to do the kind of things that demonstrate to the street and people who don't agree with us that we're making investments in our people for the right reasons. Our health care, way before the Affordable Care Act, it was $350 million. That was more than the cost of coffee for our raw materials for a decade. Mm-hmm. And so we couldn't put a price on what we think is right for our people, and we're going to continue to do the things we think is right.
When thinking of other corporations in this country who may have a desire to do the same thing, is ASU set up right now to say anyone who wants to do, any corporation in this country who wants to do the college achievement program, we can work with you, we can make it happen for your employees too?
So that's actually not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is a value-driven company like Starbucks now working with a value-driven university like ASU, which is at the end of the day mortal and human. That is, we have certain limits to even what we can attempt to do. What we're trying to do is to show that we can work at a very large scale, projecting our knowledge enterprise in a way where a very large national corporation, ultimately an international corporation, can build lifelong learning for its employees and its partners in a very significant way. What we're hopeful of is that other value-directed corporations and other value-directed universities will learn from this process, take the tools and the ideas that many of you in this room have been developing, find ways to create variations of this and make it work in lots of different ways. Now, this isn't the only model. There's other models, deeper models of learning and training and educational pathways inside corporations. There's some of the work that Zoe and the Marco Foundation are leading, where you could take entire communities and build ways in which middle skill jobs can be identified in the marketplace, can be projected into the marketplace by the individual, where the individual can have pathways to higher levels of educational attainment and so forth. All of those things are going on at the same time, but it's not about finding one university or one company to be able to, do this. It's about finding leaders who proffer differentiated designs that show what outcomes you can get with those designs, and then others finding ways to improve on those designs and take them even further by doing more. So it's not about us offering this. It's about us, I think, Howard, you and we agree with this, that we're trying to say, don't tell me that a for-profit corporation cannot advance its human capital. Don't tell me that a public research university doing all the things that we're doing with thousands of research projects and tens of thousands of immersive students can't plug in a plasma coil that can reach out to these students for Starbucks and raise all boats. If someone says that can't be done, they're like living in the past. So far in the past, they're not conceptualizing what we need. So we're trying to demonstrate that these value-oriented company and university can achieve these kinds of outcomes. That's what we're trying to do.
I would say, in addition to that, I wouldn't underestimate the degree of difficulty in both creating this and executing it. It is very, very hard. Two different organizations trying to do something that each one of us have never done before in an area that Starbucks has no competency or capability. And also we're trying to teach and advise ASU about the culture and values of Starbucks and what it is we do. And with regard to that, I think, one of the threads of success here is, and you can't underestimate it, is that the culture and values of these two institutions are so similar, of really valuing and understanding the need for humanity in our society. And I think, again, one of the learnings, not in terms of this particular proposition, but over many, many years, is that culture, more often than not, trumps strategy. And you have to have a great strategy. But if you don't have the culture, the values, and the human behavior to execute that strategy, it's not going to work. And conversely, if you have a good strategy, but you've got an extraordinary group of people who are willing to climb that mountain again and again and again and not be denied, and it's selfless and it's there for each other, you are going to win.
Which, yeah. Which, on the one hand, makes me feel very optimistic that it's working. But on the other hand, you look out at all of the other opportunities that may exist out there, and the will, the sheer force to get them done when there are all of these other things that every CEO has to think about on a daily basis.
Well, I think that's true. I think that the balance of issues that a CEO has to deal with today are more complicated than any other time, perhaps in the history of business. Having said that, those businesses like Starbucks that are more people dependent, that are in the retail business, that really depend on retail and human beings and human behavior to define the brand and the
what experience. They do in your stores determines how people feel about Starbucks.
The people who wear the green apron are the brand. And that's true for many retailers. So I think that there's a growing level of understanding and commitment that people, that executives and managers are going to have to do more. I mean, what we're now seeing about minimum wage, that really is coming because of pressure. I'm not sure how authentic it is, but it's nice to see. But I think over the course of time, you are going to see companies do the right thing for the right reasons.
What's your advice to other universities out there who might be even looking for a corporate partner, who might see what you're doing and think, this is very interesting?
So part of my advice is, sort of give up on the notion that your path to success is the replication of someone that's slightly ahead of you on the metal train tracks. Meaning that the competition is highly linear among and between universities, highly rigid in terms of structure and design. Remove yourself from the tracks, not everyone, but some, and take on a new way to think about teaching, learning, and discovery. If we want differentiated outcomes in our country, if we want our country to be more successful, if we want our companies to be more successful, we're at the maximum level of success that we can achieve right now today. We're at that level. People don't seem to grasp that. They think that somehow we're just set back by this or set back by that. No, we're set back by the limits of the designs and the systems that we're operating.
This system will not allow us to move forward, is what you're saying.
Yes.
We can't move forward if this is
exactly.
The old way.
We've attained it. We're at maximum. All there is from here forward is entropy. And so to move forward, you must defeat natural lagging back or falling back. You must defeat, in a simple sense, gravity. And so the only way to do that is to take on these new things. So what my advice to other college and university leaders is, do you have a way, and many see this, do you have a way to project what you do so that this notion of the only way to be educated with quality is in a full immersive environment? And the answer is, well, how can that be if what we want is lifelong education? What this is about is college completion and lifelong education. Once a person has moved past that point in their life where they can go spend 4 years as an undergraduate student or 5 years as an undergraduate student in a fully immersive environment, or several years as a graduate student. Now, that's a privilege for a very, very small percentage of our population. That's unfortunate. And so we have to find ways to expand that also. But having said that, what this is all about is who is willing to step out and start evolving the next form of higher education, the next type of university, the next type of college, rather than just replicating those that already exist.
I think there's something more, and this might make people feel a bit uncomfortable. I apologize in advance, but
he always says that. To
be specific about this issue, it's not only the institutions that have to recognize that we have to change, but it is the citizenry. And so with over 6 million young people in America who are disconnected from society, opportunity youth, ages 16 to 24, the majority of whom are Black and Latino, not in school and not in working. The rhetorical question is that the society that we want? And is this the America that we are going to accept? Let me go a step further. An African-American male baby today, a Latino male baby today, born today, 1 out of 3 Black kids and 1 out of 6 Latino kids will be incarcerated before the age of 17. So it's not only the institutions that have to recognize that the path that we are going on is not going to solve the structural problems, but as citizens, we have to recognize that in our communities, we are seeing things every day that we are ignoring. We're ignoring it as Americans. And we certainly do not have the leadership collectively in Washington that is addressing these problems. And if we continue to go down this path, we're going to end up with an America and a society that our parents and our grandparents fought for, and we will not recognize. So it's not just the institutions, it's all of us individually in this room that must step up and make a positive difference in the things that we see that unfortunately many of us are ignoring, and we're just a bystander, and we must address it.
For all the people in this room in the education tech sphere, what can they do? Where is their demand right now? Of course, I know there's a lot of great ideas in this room, and I'm not suggesting that people aren't thinking of those great ideas, but where is the demand in your world for what these people do?
I'm not sure, honestly. I understand the question. What do you mean by that?
Well, go ahead.
So I think the question is, these folks are investors and companies and others who are developing tools and techniques that speed education, enhance education, enable more egalitarian access to education. how do all of these things affect, or how might they affect Starbucks?
Well, I think as we look at our company, one of the primary things that we need to do effectively is we employ 300,000 people globally, 150,000 people in North America. We're very, very good at creating the kind of training skills and applications that are skewed to our business. And when I say very good, we have not made the transition to leverage technology and leverage smartphones and leverage the tools that our young people and millennials are using every day to leverage the training that we need to do. It's embarrassing, but we don't have a method to communicate directly to every single employee every single day. Now, there's some privacy issues that go along with that, but that would be a significant competitive advantage that we have to overcome. And I'd say in the area of training, that among anything is a primary objective for us to really leapfrog from where we are and get much, much further along.
I just want to add that just exactly this answer that Howard gave, this limit of the ability of making the integration of training you receive in the workplace, training you might receive in the military, educational experiences you might have in community colleges or universities, other ways that you have to advance, to develop your skills, and so forth. We understand that in addition to providing college completion and college opportunities for Starbucks partners, there are ways in which one needs to think about how to design ubiquitous learning environments inside companies that allow all of what the individual in the company is doing and learning to be projected, to be enhanced, to be stacked, to be tradable, to be marketable, to be usable, to be identified, to move forward on pathways to make all these things happen. And without naming the company, that's one other project we're working on right now.
How do you get past the idea, because some companies will hear what you just talked about, Dr. Crow, and they'll think, well, giving that kind of intelligence out, that stuff that we've spent all of this time and effort developing, and just giving it out to anyone, what's the use? Why would we give away our trade secrets? Why would we give that education out for free to others?
Well, even Starbucks, and I know Starbucks is thinking about this. You might want to comment on this, Howard, and that is the notion of why not identify the company training aspect components of what it takes to be a successful Starbucks partner and make that available to anyone so that they know then the pathway of not only what their educational pathway might be for their broader personal development, but also their success at Starbucks. So when they show up at Starbucks or some other place, they're either highly aware of what they need to know, or they already know it by the time they come, speeding the entire process and enhancing the entire exchange mechanism, getting people who don't know necessarily what it takes to be successful in a particular corporate environment or a particular service industry or what have you, getting them ready, thus lowering the inefficiency, speeding the effect of the market, speeding the overall value of the market, as well as triggering for individuals knowledge about what they need to do, going all the way back to middle school. We just completed, through some private philanthropy here in Scottsdale, a new project at ASU that's being beta tested right now called Me3. You answer 60 visual questions by comparing two pictures. At the end of that, there's an educational learning profile of you that then identifies what you're likely to want, what you're most interested in. And it says, oh, if this is what you're interested in, let me tell you what some careers are in that particular area. And once you've identified that, it says, oh, by the way, if you're interested in that, here's a pathway through college. Here are the majors that help you to be able to do that. Oh, by the way, let me show that to you. Oh, by the way, I see that you're a 9th grader at Desert Vista High School here in Metro Phoenix. And let me tell you what you'll need to do in high school if that's what you're actually interested in. Now, this tool, which will be made available to everyone, will alter that individual's understanding and their family's understanding of their pathway. They'll no longer be constrained by someone giving them or telling them that they can't do it or they fail or what have you. And so the thought is there that this kind of tool, this kind of device, integrated with other devices, other tools, helps prepare people for the workforce, etc.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Well,
10 years from now, what do you see?
Oh, what I see is a a fair number of universities that have broken from the pack that are now out in what we would now call wave 5 of universities and colleges, working at scale, working with unbelievable innovation, working at high levels of educational efficacy, working with major organizations like Starbucks, and materially impacting and affecting the outcome of the United States by overcoming once and for all the notion that college is just something you do between the ages of 17 and 22. If you have a lot of money, maybe.
Wow. Well, we've said publicly that we will graduate 25,000 Starbucks ASU graduates by 2025. I think we'll exceed that. And I think that'll be a roaring success for our company. And I assume by that time there'll be other companies that will follow. I'd also say that in business today, and for that matter in many other walks of life, the most important currency that is the major characteristic that unfortunately is not the case in daily life is trust and transparency. This program that we created had a lot of skeptics that were external. Why are we doing this? What does it mean? It's marketing, it's PR. What's ASU doing?
Online is suspect.
Yeah, all the things. And there was so many skeptics, and unfortunately you get such contempt. And I want to dismiss all the hate and all the contempt. I want to go against the grain. I want to do things that haven't been done before and surprise and delight our customers and do everything I can to share our success with our people. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that's it? You're good.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you. That was great.
So we have the rumor out there now.
Yeah, nice work. Nice work.
Starbucks, Steve. I'll see you in a little while.